Hello, this is Inside the Press Box with Sunil Sunder Raj for the Everyday Fan Sports. I'm happy to be speaking this evening with David Bagatelle. Am I pronouncing it correct, David?
Bagatelle, that works.
Bagatelle, okay. 1986 alum of Wesleyan University and alum of Wayne Hills High School. Also, David is the Executive Vice President and President of New York Metro Markets for Sterling National Banks, located in Yonkers, New York. David, again, I can't thank you enough, again, for taking some time out to speak with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Sunil. This is really great. Appreciate it.
We had a long conversation before we came on here on the air. Talking about, of course, your time at Wesleyan University, and we're just about to get into Wayne Hills High School. Your story, your background story is so impressive, David. The fact that I was reading some notes is that you grew up in upstate New York and moved to Wayne, New Jersey, I think when you were 13 years old. And of course, attended and graduated from Wayne Hills High School, played on the football team as an all-league center and defensive tackle, a two-way player, set for Wayne Hills. I guess if you want to talk about your time, your father also went to Union College. So I just wanted to ask you about your youthful years and just, said.
You've done your research. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to start talking a little bit about the Wayne Hills experience.
Yeah, sounds good. That's great.
So as you noted, moved to Wayne, New Jersey from upstate New York just before 8th grade, and moved to Wayne, and was fortunate enough to attend and play for Wayne Hills. It was a great experience, although this was, pre Coach Olson Wayne Hills. Yeah. So, it was a little bit different back when I was there. We had I played with some great players. I was actually, because I had a feeling we were going to go there. Yeah. I think 7 or 8 of my teammates from that team, both seniors, juniors, and sophomores, ended up going on and playing in college. So we had some really great players on those teams. My senior year, never forget this. We back in those days, it was the old NBILs, the old North Bergen Interscholastic League, which was sort of the Ivy NESCAC of North Jersey. It was, Wayne Hills and Riverdale and Ramapo. Indian Hills was very good in those days, believe it or not. They had a good football team. Pascack Hills, Pascack Valley, Westwood, etc. Demarest, Old Tappan. Great league, very competitive. And we came down, we played Ramapo, who was our big rival back then. 7th game of the year. We were both 6-0 coming into the game. They had some really great players on that team. Ray Perkins' son, Tony Perkins, was on that team. The quarterback was Kurt Ciesco. And, it was 0-0 until the last minute of the game. A real defensive battle. Back in those days, we used to run the veer, ran a triple option offense. And I'll never forget this. They got the ball back and, they scored the last minute of the game. And back in those days also, there were only 4 teams from each group that made the state. There were 4 groups. We were, us and Ramapo were group 3, and it was us and Ramapo fighting for the spots. And back in those days, you pretty much had to be undefeated to get a spot. There was no teams barely 500 getting into the playoffs. It's not the way it worked. And, they scored. I have a picture somewhere around here of me chasing Ciesco as he's, running in the end zone, and they win the game. We end up, we're at that point, well, I guess we were both 7-0. We were 7-1 at that point. They were 8-0, and, we didn't get in. We didn't make the states that year, and it was, one of the better teams. Wayne Hills, frankly, until Coach Olson got there, never won a state championship, and it was really great. I had a great experience. Played baseball also, and while I was there was no video. No video whatsoever. Yeah. We used to get the old the films, and literally you would mail them to the school, and the coaches would watch you on film. Of course, you'd send them the films of the good games. You wouldn't sell them, when you get Pancake, those games. I guess they do that today on Huddle. They only send the good. They only send the good film. But so I was looking at. I was being recruited by a couple of the Ivies and schools that were sort of in the NESCAC, as well as some Patriot League schools, as well as some of the schools that I guess are Centennial League schools. And I was fortunate enough to get into a couple of Ivies, and I got into a bunch of NESCAC schools and Union and a couple of other schools like that. Back in those days, Swarthmore, which was in the Centennial League, had a pretty good football team. They were recruiting me, and it came down to Wesleyan and Cornell. And I'll never forget, I went up to visit Coach Vaughn up there at Cornell, and he said, we'll get you up to 260, 270 by your junior year, and we'll have you in there. You'll be playing for us. And I was a 215-pound center defensive tackle. 70 pounds. I mean, big today, but not back then. And Coach McDermott, who was the head football coach at Wesleyan, legendary coach, legendary person. He was very upfront with me, which I hadn't really experienced at Wayne Hills, to be frank. He was a really open, honest coach, and they had a spot. And I had an opportunity to go right in there and start and play as a freshman. And, great school, close enough so that my folks could come up from North Jersey and watch me play. As you'd said earlier, my dad went to Union, so he was pretty familiar with that level of athletics. And look, I wasn't going to go play in the NFL or anything like that. I kind of figured out that let me use football like music or dance or writing to get in the best school possible, and if I can play while I'm getting a great education and have some fun playing football, that would be great. So I picked Wesleyan and never looked back. Had a great 4 years there.
Yeah, I said started nose guard, I think, for 3 years, and I think go back to Coach McDermott, is that I know that you pointed out there was a couple of things. It was coach, it was the school, and the fact, again, you're playing right away that really was instrumental in you going to Wesleyan. I said, David.
Yeah, I would say, well, I'll put the academics first, obviously. That goes without saying. But the coach, I didn't have a great experience. I don't want to get into it. The whole team didn't with a coach in high school. But that was really important to have to sort of pick the right culture. And I think that's important. I mean, I was talking to some schools, Trinity, for example. There was a coach there named Don Miller, legendary coach. He was at Trinity, coached there for 30 years, one of the winningest coaches in D3 history. He's in their Hall of Fame. And I just felt his personality was a little too much like my high school coach. And, whereas Coach Mack was a lot different, and it was football was serious and winning was serious, but so was getting education and so was enjoying your time in college as well. So it was just a perfect fit, perfect school, great 4 years. We had some great teams. Obviously, I met a lot of great guys. Still friends with them to this day. We're in the text groups. We go up to all the games. We tailgate together. We have a lot of fun, and I owe a lot of that to Coach Mack.
Yeah, that's what great point you made. That brotherhood, that never leaves you. That stays forever. I think that's. Everybody talks about, said on the field, but off the field. And then, years after you graduate, to see you keep that going, said is so, it's so great to see, David.
Yeah, we have a pretty tight group. A number of us joined the same fraternity. So we had that, Wesleyan's not really known for its fraternities, but joined the fraternity, and we had that. And then, but we had a lot of other players who weren't, and we're still, friendly with that, as well as the whole student body. Wesleyan, it's 3,200 students. I graduated with 800 kids, not a large school by any stretch. And so you had a chance to get to know a lot of people. You knew a lot of folks on the campus, and it was really just a great experience from that standpoint. But yeah, my friends and I, have stayed very close. We get very involved with Wesleyan. We help the coaches up there from a mentoring standpoint, working with the student athletes, helping them obviously from a career standpoint. Yeah. And then, the other big thing that we do is we help them from a recruiting standpoint as well.
Yeah. You talk about the role of a student athlete. You mentioned that you're a Russ chairman for the member DKE, a teaching assistant for American politics, an intern at the Connecticut State House. I just found that so fascinating that, you really, it just embraced that. Like, you really wanted to, get that, feel for, college life, but you were, said outside, able to, accomplish, said those goals. Can you talk about that as well, David?
Yeah. I think that's a big thing. It was a big thing actually coming out of Wayne Hills. I was involved in a lot of different things in high school. Everything from the National Honor Society to getting involved in student government and all kinds of clubs and stuff. And I sort of just carried that through. I'm always the kind of person, even to this day, that likes to be involved, likes to keep myself busy. And at Wesleyan, obviously there's the classroom experience, and then I was fortunate enough to play intercollegiate athletics, but there's a whole lot of other things that these schools offer. Everything from, I did work at the Connecticut State House as an intern. That was a really cool experience. I was a teaching assistant, student manager for the food service, which gave me some very early on some management experience. I started the investment club at Wesleyan, which was a lot of fun. So we did a lot of fun, interesting, different, cool kinds of things. I think it's important to be very well-rounded, and I carry that through when I hire people. That's what I look for. You don't want people that are just sort of pigeonholed, that are just focused on sort of one aspect of their life. You want people that are well-rounded and do a lot of different things.
It's true. You've gone on to have a successful career, of course, the banking industry. I was reading that,
Thank you.
Initially you're going to be a lawyer, but, said, I guess you want to quickly, you want to talk about that as well, David.
Yeah, that's a good story, actually. So my senior year, I went to Wesleyan intending to go to law school. And I wanted to be a corporate lawyer. It's just something that I don't know why, but something that interested me. Maybe I watched Wall Street and I thought that was cool, looking at documents or whatever. But so my senior year, I took the course and went and took the LSATs. Did fairly well on the LSATs, and got into a number of really awesome law schools. Unfortunately, I didn't get into my number one pick, which was NYU, and they waitlisted me. And while I was in the process of doing that, I figured, hey, all these great companies come on campus, why not? For practice, I'll go. It's good interview practice, and let me hedge my bets. So let me sort of interview with a lot of these companies, some of these companies, which I did. And I ended up getting an offer from KPMG. It was Pete Marwick Mitchell at the time, now KPMG, where they send you to grad school while you work for them full time, and it would happen to be at Stern at NYU. So I as I said, I was on the wait list at NYU Law School. I actually got into, my second choice was Notre Dame. I deferred in case I didn't like business school, and I matriculated at NYU. I started there at NYU Business School first week of June, literally a week after we graduated. And KPMG was paying me while I went to school, and I'm at business school, and 2 weeks later I get a call, because there's no emails, there's no text messaging, right? You get a message on your voice machine, or whatever answering machine, answering machine, right? That's what they call it. So I come home one day and it's NYU. They left me a message, and of course they have no way of cross-referencing with the business school. They had no clue that I got accepted, that I was already matriculated at their business school.
Yeah.
So they had a spot. They were taking me off the wait list, and I called them the next day, and I explained the situation. I said, "Hey, can I possibly defer in case I don't like business school?"
Mm-hmm.
And they said basically you had 48 hours to make a decision. And I have a nose guard, defensive tackle mentality. I don't quit things. I don't do that.
Yeah.
And I had made a commitment to KPMG, made a commitment to Stern, and I called back to law school and passed on the opportunity to go to NYU Law School, and ended up finishing up. I qualified for master's in accounting, applied those credits towards the MBA, finished all that, and had a great 3-year experience, passed my CPA, great 3-year experience at KPMG. And I learned really quickly what I didn't want to do, which was be an accountant. And a lot of my clients in my early days at KPMG were banks, and and brokerage firms. I like financial services, and KPMG wasn't going to pay me for getting my MBA. They weren't going to sort of reward me by bumping my salary up. So I went through on-campus recruiting at Stern, and lo and behold, I ended up getting a great spot at a bank called M&T Bank, which I had never heard of at the time. Now it's a very large bank, and the rest is sort of history. That's how I got into banking.
What's so great is that the fact now you're, of course, mentoring kids, you're hiring, kids as interns, and then you in full time. That's really paying it forward in that aspect as well, David.
Yeah, it's really, because I look back, I'm a big believer in what comes around goes around, and I never keep score. I believe that if you do good for others, it sort of comes around to you as well. And so I really, because I remember when I was coming out of Wesleyan, and I had my dad as a mentor, but there wasn't the kind of situation where there were former players or anything like that there to kind of help you, help guide you. And, one of the big things, just to plug Coach Whalen and Coach DeCenzo at Wesleyan, when they came in, one of the first things they did was put in a mentoring program where you'd be matched up with players and sort of work with them. Not only issues they're having at school, or maybe they're having issues with the coaches, but talking to them about careers and their resume and interview skills, and as they moved up, from their freshman to their sophomore to their junior to their senior year, talking to them about what their career choices are, what maybe their graduate school choices are. So I've been doing that for the last 11 years. I've kind of taken it to the next level. I brought in a bunch as interns, hired a bunch over the years. And I've even extended it now. Don't tell anybody, but I've also hired kids from other NESCAC schools. Never William, but other NESCAC schools. In fact, there's a kid that I know. I coached his daughter, actually. He's from Maui. He went to St. Joe's, and he went to Hamilton, and he had a bad injury his junior year at St. Joe's, and was fortunate enough that Hamilton was interested in him. Otherwise, he would have been a Patriot League player. And he just couldn't get it going at Hamilton from a football standpoint, but has had a great 4-year experience there. So I'm working with him now as an example. So.
You mentioned, said playing a pivotal role. I was reading, of course, bringing in director of athletics, Mike Whalen and head coach Dan DeCenzo. That we talked about before we came on the air. Just changing that culture, bringing that winning mentality, to a program that was in desperate need of it, and to see the success, of course, that these two guys have brought to the Wesleyan University Cardinals football program. Just talk about me. It's just great to see. Again, a winning record. It said lead. The little titles, and said NESCAC. Just talk about it, David.
Yeah, so I was a member of a club at Wesleyan called the Cardinal Club. We were
Okay.
sort of a booster club, not on the same level of Ohio State or Penn State,
Yeah.
mind you, but so we were supportive, trying to help buy different help the school raise money for the team and whatnot, and go to a lot of games, and it was just very frustrating from sort of the mid from 2005 2006 on. Wesleyan was having a lot of failure on the football field. We're not winning a lot of games. I think 07, 08, 09, I think 2 of those 3 years we had winless seasons, and we were never we were always very competitive, always in every game. We didn't win every game, but we won, and had a lot of success in the 90s, and then suddenly things just sort of dropped. And I think there were a lot of reasons for that. But it was, it was very frustrating as an alum. And we got a new president who wanted to be successful in everything that we did, whether it be academics or athletics. And I remember one day I was talking to a fellow alum, a fellow teammate of mine. He was a senior when I was a freshman, named Steve Sorkin. And Coach Whalen, of course, was a captain at Wesleyan, and graduated also in '83 and was my captain. He was Steve Sorkin's best friend, and he had sort of ascended at Williams to be head football coach at Williams, and was having a ton of success. And here you have a Wesleyan guy, a legend at Wesleyan, frankly, who's the head coach at our arch rival, and just kicking our butt, and frankly kicking everybody else's butt every year. And I said to Steve, I think this was maybe in '08, I said, half as a joke, I'm like, well, what would it take to get his nickname, Coach Whalen's nickname was Wales. I said, what would it take to get Wales to come home?
Yeah.
And after we sort of laughed for about 10 minutes, and I said, Steve, what would you put the odds at of him coming? He said 1,000 to 1. He said, wait, 10,000 to 1. And so I said, you know what? I'm just done. I was friendly with the athletic director. I was friendly with the director of development, and obviously, this academics and fundraising are connected, particularly in Division III, particularly in the NESCAC. And I was friendly with, her name was Barbara Jan Wilson. Barbara Jan, I had known for 30 plus years. She was director of the Career Center when I was a senior. She helped me get my first job. In fact, she helped me get my one and only quote in the Wall Street Journal. So Barbara Jan's my buddy. She's also a Yankee fan. She also lives here in New Jersey now.
Okay.
And I called Barbara Jan and I floated this crazy idea. And she floated it to the athletic director, and it started to get, legs. And lo and behold, we ended up working a deal to bring Coach Whalen from Williams to Wesleyan. I mean, just all the stars aligned, frankly. I mean, his contract was up. The athletic director, they had an interim athletic director at Wesleyan at Williams. They had an interim president, and Mike. It was made. There were a lot of requirements for him to come to the school, and fortunately, we were able to meet those. And one of the big requirements was he wanted to bring his defensive coordinator, one of his former players, Dan DeCenzo, with him. And I had heard a lot about Dan at that point. I had never met him, but my view was, hey, the more guys from Williams, the merrier. It was I was loving every minute of it. So the spring of 2010, it was announced that Mike was coming to Wesleyan. He was bringing Coach DeCenzo, and he would be the head football coach, and Dan would be defensive coordinator, and I think he was an assistant wrestling coach. And Wales would be the associate athletic director and eventually would become the athletic director. So there was sort of a built-in succession plan there.
Mhm.
And the other nice thing was not only did we get the head coach and the defensive coordinator, but they also brought their starting quarterback. So it was a really, you know?
Yeah, you could have asked for a better setup there.
So
Yeah.
look, I mean, he left Williams absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember him saying to me, my nickname is Bags. He said, Bags, said, you know a little bit about football, but you've never, coached on the collegiate level. You could go in there tomorrow, coach that team, and they'd be undefeated. Well, lo and behold, he left them loaded. They went undefeated. They won the league. They won the Little Three.
Yeah.
And that first year, 2010, we took our lumps, but it laid the groundwork. We won a few games. And then they started recruiting and started getting the alumni involved. And by 2013, it was pretty incredible what they had built with a lot of New Jersey kids, I might add.
Yeah.
We ended up winning the Little Three and winning the league title for the first time. Mm-hmm. By the way, that was the first Little Three we had won in 43 years. We hadn't won a Little Three. We hadn't beat Williams and Amherst in the same year since 1970, which seems almost impossible to me, but that's the way it was. And I'll tell you, after the birth of my kids, that was one of the happiest days of my life. I have to tell you, I'm not alone. The alumni, we never thought we'd see in our lifetime us winning a Little Three. So, and we've been fortunate. We've won a couple more since then.
Yeah. And
had a few really great teams. And Wales, I think, 2014 was his last year, and then Coach DeCenzo took over then, and his career winning percentage, because you interviewed him, I think now with the 2 wins so far this year is the most highest ever in Wesleyan history.
Yeah.
And he's having a lot of really great success. We beat Williams 7 straight years. And coming off in 2019, we were 8-1, and we're off to a good start this year.
Yeah, no, definitely. He's just absolutely done a tremendous job, Coach DeCenzo, on the fact that his ability again to recruit, I said players from all over. I mean, especially here in the Northeast, but no state is left untouchable. He's willing to reach out. That's such a critical component. Of course, you got to bring in, I said the right players, to develop that cohesiveness, that chemistry as well, David.
Yeah, he's put together, and the kids he recruits, and I'm fortunate that I get to interact with them and their parents. I go to every game. I attend the parent tailgates. I talk to the kids. They're great athletes, but they're even better students, and more importantly than that, they're even better people. I mean, these kids are just the most amazing kids I've ever met in my life. They're so dedicated to what Coach Dice is doing, but they're dedicated to improving themselves and to be good people. It's just a really great group to be around, and and it's the kinds of people we're recruiting are just amazing. And like you said, they're from all over the country.
Yeah,
they're from all walks of life. It's a extremely diverse roster, especially compared to other schools in the NESCAC. And what these kids are doing after they graduate is just incredible, whether it's going on to grad school, and being doctors, lawyers, or going into the work world, or doing things artistically, filmmakers, or, doing things from a nonprofit standpoint. It's just, it's really great to see. What I'm most proud of is, not only having the ability to mentor them, but, helping to bring so many of these kids to the school. I counted up the other day. Wesleyan has the most kids from New Jersey in the NESCAC, which I'm really proud of because I do get involved in recruiting here. Mm-hmm. We've got about 30 student athletes on our 90-some person roster from outside of the Northeast, which is really pretty spectacular, all over the country, Florida, Texas, California, Midwest, all over the country. So it's it's great to see all of that coming to play, and it's also what's also great to see is just the kids interacting. They all are. It's just really a great team environment.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay, you have a story to, of course, tell about David Estevez, senior, who attended and graduated from Riverdale High School here in Oriental, New Jersey.
Yeah,
First played on the Golden Hawks, varsity, team leading them to back-to-back, state championships. So the floor is yours there, to talk about David Estevez.
so I will tell you, like, what 17 was his senior year?
Yeah.
And 16 was his junior year.
Yes.
Sunil, I watched a lot of Riverdale football in 16 and 17. I was definitely a regular at Riverdale Hawk games, and remember, I played against Riverdale, so I coached my daughter's lacrosse, so they played a lot of games at Riverdale High School. So went to a lot of Riverdale schools. So David. Obviously David had a special career at Riverdale High School and had a lot of success. And, the good thing about Riverdale is it's a great academic school. And David, obviously, he downplays this, but he's a super smart kid. He's, had very good grades and very involved in a lot of other things at Riverdale High School. And he has a really, he had a really great coach in DJ Nymphis who, DJ is very big on the whole academic elements and making sure that if his student athletes are going to go on and play in college, about making sure they end up at the right place. So, it just sort of, everything just sort of aligned. David, obviously did his part with the success he had in staying healthy. He always worried about it running around back there, but somehow he got it done. Yeah. And his grades obviously were great. And, David, I think, realized something not a lot of high school kids realize, particularly at the parochial schools. They see their friends all going on and getting, D1 scholarships, and they think that's the be all end all. And by the way, if you're that kind of player and you want to do that, more power to you. Yeah. But there are a lot of student athletes coming out of high school who, are not quite big enough, or just a step slower. David was not a step slower. He was just, maybe an inch too short and 10 pounds too light. And, a lot of kids like David or Jack Racine's another example, right?
Yes.
They realize that they can either go to an Ivy or a Patriot or, something like that, or even bigger, and maybe play a little bit, maybe play by their senior year, or they can go to a NESCAC school and either, play right away or be a star or both. Mm-hmm. And by the way, still get that great education. Yeah. And the reality is, we were talking about this earlier, 1% of high school student athletes playing college, and 1% of, college football players end up in the NFL, maybe even less. So it's not like how many pros are out of North Jersey? Pearl Peppers, Rashard Gary, you can name them on one hand. George Fuller, there's a handful, right? And these were superstars in high school, right? So, and you just knew it back then. You knew Jabril was going to play in the NFL, right? And you knew Fuller, when he was at Old Japan, was going to do that. Yeah. But it's really was great of David and his family to recognize that he can go to a school like Wesleyan. He's using athletics to get into a school like Wesleyan, and he can go there and have a tremendous athletic experience. And so I spent a lot of time, talking to David on the phone, and I know the coaches, liked what they saw, and I'm very persistent. Once again, that nose guard mentality, and stayed on it, and we were very fortunate to have David come to the school, and we've gotten to know each other very, very well. We speak regularly. We text regularly. That's just the way it is. Yeah. I have kids that age too, and but he's a really great person and super smart kid, and obviously he's excelling at Wesleyan. He's become a star in the NESCAC. He was first team. Actually, he was the only player who was first team at two positions, 2019. I can't remember many other players that ever were.
Yeah.
He was all league, sort of at that all around. You know, you don't even have a position for him because he played all over the field, and he was all league as a returner. And he's done, he's done great at West, and he's got a couple more years. I expect, the rest of this year. He's already off to a great start this year, and he's going to finish this year great. I'll be back next year, and I'm sure, things will just get better for him.
Yeah, that's true. That's great to see. Just have a couple more. Can't thank you for the time, David. Another interesting component is the facilities. We talk about, strength and conditioning, weight room, and then of course, the football field as well. Can you talk about that at Wesleyan as well?
Yeah. So, we play on, I don't know if you touched upon this with Coach DeCenzo, but, Wesleyan, we play on the oldest continuously used field in America. They've been playing football in that field since the 1890s.
Yeah. Right
in the center of campus. It's grass. And I think Wesleyan led the league in attendance in 19, and we were fifth in the country in Division III in attendance. So we get, for a Division III school, anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 fans per game. It's by far the best D3 atmosphere I've ever been at. I go to a lot of the D3 playoff games. I went to a playoff game in 2019, a Centennial League game, and the atmosphere didn't compare to what they have at Wesleyan. So it's a really great experience, great game day experience. What's even better about the school, though, is, as you said, the athletic facilities, the athletic center, the practice facilities, strength and conditioning, all very important. The training facilities, and then of course, it's a very very good academic school. So the academic facilities are really great, and they're even expanding that much more. They're building a new science center, and they're redoing some of the academic buildings right now, and building new dorms. So they're always it's the arms race with these colleges. They always upgrade to attract.
That's right.
I mean, it's really, I don't know if you've ever been up there. Maybe we'll get you to come up to see Dave and see David play.
That would be terrific. I would look forward to that.
We have the best tailgate. I understand DJ was up there last weekend. So we love having visitors at our tailgate, but it's you'd see the experience. It's really a great experience, and frankly, we love to get kids up there to visit when we're recruiting them.
Yeah.
We don't some of these schools bring up 60, 70 kids at a time. We don't. We bring up a couple handfuls, so you get that one-on-one experience.
Yeah.
And once they come up and see it, and they're hooked. We have a couple of players coming up next weekend from Ramapo. A couple of folks that we're recruiting now, and who will be tremendous players for us. Obviously, they're having a great year under Coach Gibbs.
Yep.
And getting them up to the school, seeing experience, getting them on the sidelines, meeting the players, meeting the coaches, meeting the parents, meeting the students, meeting the alumni. Once we get them there, we pretty much we reel them in.
Great. That's well said. Hook, ladder, and sink, right?
Absolutely. That's what we try to do.
What's interesting, it pops into my head, is that you have, the campus, you have the student body, you have the administration, you have the athletic department, and then you have the community itself. So I'm wondering about that. Just talk about that overall scheme of it, is that to have everybody on the same page and just have that, again, that positive environment on a college campus, David.
It's really a great point, because when I played, that didn't really exist. The tailgating was there, and there'd be kind of the alums in one spot, and you'd have the students in another, and the parents would kind of be on their own. And even after the game, you'd sort of, you'd go see your mother or your father, and you might have something to drink with them, and then you go back, and back in those days, we actually showered in the locker room. Kids don't do that anymore, but we used to do that. And then you come out, and you go have dinner with your parents, and that would be the end of it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, first of all, everybody's tailgating together. It's one big communal thing. Everybody's sort of pro-West. It's the alums mingling with the parents, mingling with the players. and it's just everybody's mixed in. And in non-COVID years, we do a big tailgate for the players, a big buffet meal for them after the game, and we're all around and we're talking to them, and it's just really great to see everybody really come together. And that didn't happen in my day. Yeah. I know it does happen at some of the other schools in NESCAC. I mean, frankly, we have a big horse trailer. This is one of the things that Wales and Dice brought with them when they came to Wesleyan. They had this at Williams. Okay. They went out and bought a horse trailer and bought some grills and some tents. And they said to the parents, you're going to, you guys are going to all bring in like a potluck thing, and you're going to grill for the kids, and we're going to cook for the kids after the games. And I got to tell you, our parents at that point, they didn't know what was going on. Like, what? So that's going on now, for 11 years. And I have to tell you, it's unbelievable what goes on, with this meal. It's, we have 90 kids on the roster. Everybody gets fed, and a lot is, it's all you can eat. There's plenty of food, and you get to mingle with that, you get to meet your roommates' parents, and you meet the alumni, and the students are there, and it's just so great to see that. In my mind, that's what makes D3 football football, because you're not going to find that at Penn State, right?
No, you get lost in the crowd. You get lost in the sea. I mean, here it's just like, you definitely get to know, as you said, you'll meet everybody, so that you won't get, again, it's not that you'll be ignored.
You know what else is great at Wesleyan? And I can't speak to other schools, although I do go to, I traveled throughout the NESCAC, and I go to a couple of other games every year, and this didn't occur when I was there. The student body is really behind the school. You have Wesleyan has 600-700 other student athletes who play other sports. Mm-hmm. They all come out to support the football team, their classmates, their hallmates, their friends. Everybody's out there, and I think that's one of the reasons that didn't go on when I was at Wesleyan. And it's really really nice to see that everybody's sort of behind the team and a part of it. Yeah,
I asked Coach DeCenzo, I think, this question when I interviewed him, is that what, that jersey, that helmet represents, said for Wesleyan. I'm just wondering, I want to get your perspective on that as well, since, of course, you said on the football team, and you graduated. Just had to ask you about that, David.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it stands for excellence. I know I'm stealing that from the Raiders, I think. But
commitment to excellence.
Right. There you go. But no, I think it's striving to be excellent, striving to be the best you can be, and perseverance. I think that people, there's still this stigma with Wesleyan in terms of football. We don't have the track record maybe that Trinity's had, or Williams or Amherst, and the last 11 years we have, but we don't, we haven't had that history of, we've had in our history 3 or 4 undefeated seasons, 4, I think. Mm-hmm. We haven't had dozens or a dozen or anything like that. So I think we have to try a little bit harder because of that, and I think we have a little bit of a chip on our shoulder because of that, and I think that drives me as an alum, to recruit a little bit harder, to help Coach DeCenzo. And by the way, I didn't say this originally, but when Coach Whalen and Coach DeCenzo came on board, I made a commitment to them that if you came here, you would have 100% of my effort here in North Jersey. I would put 100% of my effort to try and get you as many student athletes as possible. So, and I think other alums in other parts of the country have done the same kind of thing. And, I don't think you find that every place. And we have that here we're very driven to make sure that what we're doing is works and is successful. And I don't think we get, I don't think we're satisfied yet. We haven't had that undefeated season. We haven't won the NESCAC title in a couple of years. We were close 2 years ago. but I think we want to do that. I think those are two accomplishments that I'd like to see us get in the next couple of years here, maybe this year.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about New Jersey football, high school football, to see how far it is. I mean, you look, everybody pointed to Florida, to Texas, to California. Maybe Ohio, but I'm just saying that now you have the state championship games, of course, that have been taking place in MetLife Stadium, and they were at Giant Stadium before that. And then now, even a couple of years ago, I covered at SHI Stadium, of course, on the campus of Rutgers University. It's great to see now, the players have that opportunity to play in these larger venues, and again, for these programs to be spotlighted as well, David.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking to one of my classmates and former teammates and fraternity brothers earlier tonight, and we had this exact discussion. Obviously, the most 5-star players are coming out of Cali and Texas and Florida.
Yeah.
And then you have that next group, which is like Georgia, South Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, right there.
Yeah.
And so if you think about it, New Jersey is really the best, closest hotbed of football for the NESCAC schools. And I don't think there's any it's definitely not a coincidence that a part of our success is that we've been able to recruit a substantial number of student athletes from New Jersey, but North Jersey in particular. And the other schools that are at the top have also, Middlebury has a number of kids from New Jersey. Colby, who's definitely on the rise in NESCAC, they've got a bunch of kids. Obviously, they have a little disadvantage being in Waterville, Maine, little far.
Yeah.
So we have that extra advantage that we're close.
Yeah.
We're halfway between New York and Boston, and we're halfway between Hartford and New Haven. Mm-hmm. I live in Edgewater now. It's an hour and 45-minute drive from Edgewater to get on the Wesleyan campus. So we have that advantage. But no, New Jersey is definitely hotbed. When I was in school, it's funny. The guidance counselors and the coaches, for that matter, if you were academically inclined, they would either point you to, if you were really good in Ivy or a Patriot League school, and if you were kind of a notch below, you'd be looking at sort of the Centennial League schools, the Pennsylvania schools. They never looked north. And frankly, a lot of the schools in SCAC are closer than Centennial League schools. So I think that's changed. I think, you look at, a number of the coaches of the parochials, and you look at Coach Nimphus, and you look at Coach Gibbs and others, the NESCAC is definitely on their radar. They definitely, Coach Johnson, obviously Ridgewood had kids that went to those schools. So they kind of get it now. And I think what I find is students they know about Wesleyan, they know about the NESCAC, they know the level of competition it is. They're much more open to that discussion.
Yeah, it's true. I think my final two questions. First, for you personally, what made the game of football so special, to play? I ask everyone this, and I think, it's so important to, find out that, information, to see what your take is on that, David.
Yeah, I think it's, it's the relationships with your teammates, and sort of, a group of 11 guys coming together for a common goal, and that's why I like to, I'm sure you've heard that answer probably a zillion times, but that's why when I recruit people for business, I like athletes who play team sports, because they sort of understand how to work well in a team, how to strive for success, how to work together. So that's important. That's what I took away from playing football. Yeah, and that's frankly why I'm still involved. I'm the 12th man now. I'm not, part of the 11th. It's funny. I mean, I'll never forget in 19, I don't know if you ever saw the highlights of our win versus Williams, which was the David Estevez show. by the way.
Yeah.
You know, he
I
ran
heard,
for
yeah.
2 touchdowns. He threw
Yeah.
a touchdown, and he returned a kick for a
Yeah.
touchdown.
Yeah.
So he was literally Jim Thorpe that day. But I got to tell you, I don't know. I had butterflies probably close to what David had during that game. You know,
Yeah.
it was a big game for us, and we won in overtime. And you know, so it's still, you know, you still get that
Yeah.
adrenaline rush, and you still get the same. I don't know about the same feeling, but you get a
Yeah.
pretty good feeling when you win a game like that.
Well, I remember 2016 when Riverdale defeated Old Japan at MetLife, and that
Yep.
was, you know, that was incredible because Riverdale had taken the lead, and then Old Japan is driving. They're inside. I think they're inside the fight. They might have been at the one goal line stand. I just never forget. I think it might have been probably 4th down. You know, they stuff them, and then you just see the players streaming onto the field, the jubilation, and then, you know,
Yeah.
followed it up the following year to defeat, you know, said a talented Rampo team 28-7. I think was the final there at MetLife.
Well,
And
before that, I mean, that
Yeah.
Demarest game was one of the best high school games I think I've ever seen. That was
Yeah.
a crazy game,
Yeah,
right?
so yeah, I was there at Riverdale. 30, I think 38-34. Still have, yeah. I said one of the either one of the touchdowns are a game-saving play where the quarterback from Denver throws, you know, said a Hail Mary, and it just yeah, I think they knocked it away to come out with that win. So yeah, I mean,
I was
yeah.
sitting right in front of the press box, and I'll never forget the Demarest coaches were right behind me, and they're watching. You know, they have iPads with all the plays and stuff.
Yeah.
One of the Demarest coaches took his iPad and just spiked it on the ground. You heard the thing shatter.
That was
a great
game.
game.
It's amazing. Talk about video. You talked about highlight tapes of the huddle, and for so many years I was like into snapping photographs, but now the last couple of years has just changed. I write down stuff, but it's all videos now because you never know when you're going to capture that, you know, signature moment, you know, said on your phone, and that's what it's become. I mean, you have, of course, yeah, you said iPads, but amazing what this phone has, the power it has is just remarkable.
No, it's amazing, and you know, because I've been now kind of out there, people kind of know I'm out there, kind of scouring the earth for Wesleyan future Wesleyan,
New York, New Jersey, a lot of driving, right?
I get all kinds. I get texts. I get retweets to me. I get texts to me with "You got to see this kid," you know, and then unfortunately I ask what their GPA is, and you know, then we're on to the next. But no, it's that's, you know, it's actually I mean, I love looking at huddle. I love looking at clips like that. I love looking at highlights. It's awesome.
Yeah. I don't want to forget about family. You said I believe you have 2 daughters. Just wanted to ask you just, you know, what they've meant to you. It's you know, I always enjoy asking, you know, people that.
Yeah.
About
So
family.
So I have 2 tremendous daughters.
Okay.
My oldest graduated from Penn State in 2020, right in the heart of the pandemic, you know, unfortunately, you know, did the whole Zoom graduation thing. Her sorority sisters had some fun with it, and her job fell through, and you know, she had a nanny for a year, but you know, she persevered. She's got a great spot now in the city. She lives in New York now. Very proud of her. I coached her for many years in girls lacrosse, and came about this close to going to Wesleyan. And she was a goalie, and I told her when she told me she was not going to play lacrosse in college and not going to go to Penn State, or not going to go to Wesleyan, told her I was never going to talk to her again. But I was just teasing, obviously. And I'm very proud of her. She's become a really amazing young lady, and she's doing great in her career, and you know, very proud of her. And then my youngest is graduated just this past June from Mawa High School, and she's a freshman at Indiana University, and you know, she's out there in Bloomington and enjoying herself there. Actually, I think she's visiting her sister and her friends this weekend in Penn State for the Penn State Indiana game. So Sounds more fun than what I'm doing this weekend, which is going up to Lewiston, Maine to watch Wesleyan play Bates. But no, she's doing great as a freshman in college, and very proud of her also. And she works hard, and they both have a really bright careers and bright life in front of them. So, and then I'll just throw a shout out to my girlfriend who puts up with my nonsense with going to high school games and going to Wesleyan games, and she's a trooper. She loves to tailgate, and she's good at it, and she enjoys the meeting the players and meeting their parents as well. So
that's great. That's great. It's so important, those relationships with the parents. You've alluded to it so much. I think that's it's great to see.
Well, what they've done, the sacrifices they've made, and obviously the being role models for their kids and pointing them the right direction. And I can't say enough good things about them. My barber on Berdan Ave in Wayne used to say to me, "You plant tomatoes, you don't get potatoes." So I'm always I tell people that these kids are great kids because their parents are great. Yes. It's just sort of where it comes from. So it's amazing. Everything from obviously David's family is tremendous, and one of our other captains, Danny Banks from Montclair, raised by a single mom, and just the stories are just great. And like I said, the sacrifices of what these parents have done for these student athletes is just incredible.
Yeah, and those stories have to be told, those untold stories that, where, these players came from, their backgrounds are so inspirational, and even how their parents, were able to get to them, to that point. Final question is that I think, from a football academic perspective, what your advice, because, we live in very different times, you said, compared to when, of course, when you played, social media, we all know that. I mean, what's out there that, how the players navigate through these uncharted waters, trying to balance out that role, even in high school as a student athlete. I mean, they've been playing since they were, in Pee Wee, junior football. I'm wondering what, your advice, your messages to those younger, kids and athletes out there.
Yeah, and I think you hit it. I mean, it is so different now than what it was when I was coming out of high school. You didn't have high school football on ESPN, that's for sure. Well, you didn't have ESPN. No, I think the biggest thing is, realize where football kind of stands in your life. I mean, it should be important. Yeah. But if you're going to go on and play in college, use football as I said earlier, use football as sort of a tool to maybe get into a little bit of a better school, a stretch that you would have gotten into. I think it's also really important from a football perspective to go to the right level place, to make sure, go someplace where you're going to get a good education, you're going to have a good experience with the coaching staff, you're going to have a good experience with the other players, and you're going to have a good experience, playing football. It's going to be a positive experience. And then, go to the school where it's going to help you down the road, no matter what you want to do, whether you want to go, like I said earlier, business or medical school or whatever ends up being, go to that place that's going to get you to where you ultimately, want to get to. And I think it's important just to recognize, kind of where football should be important. It's important. I know, I get it, and it should definitely be important. But there are other important things too that you need to focus on, and just keep those things in perspective.
Yeah. Okay, the floor is yours, David. If I've left anything out.
No, right here. You didn't ask me for predictions in an SCAC. Of course, I'm a little biased. Yeah. No, it's the league is really. I know you talked to Dan a little bit about it. Yeah. It's really interesting because we're coming back after being away for a year. Obviously,
know.
you have
Yeah.
the next NCAA gave everybody, including D3 players, an extra year of eligibility. So you have people, taking extra years. So you have fifth-year seniors, you have graduate students, you have freshmen. You basically have 5 years of rosters crammed into one. There were teams who, you expected some kids to be back and they weren't. You expected other kids to be back. So it's really the level of competition is excellent. It's tough to gauge how everybody is until you really play them. This whole thing, by the way, it's going to be really interesting to watch at all levels of college for the next 3 or 4 years, because you got to work all these kids through, right? Everybody gets an extra year of eligibility.
You got the incoming freshman classes. I mean, it really those, I said everybody for a loop here.
You have freshmen who would have normally, maybe some of them would have had a chance to play, but they're backed up because they're fifth-year seniors. So it's going to take a couple of years for this to kind of work its way through the system and see how it plays out. But no, I'm bullish on the rest of the season. We're having a lot of fun, and I know, as Coach DeCenzo said, he's optimistic for the season. We're optimistic as well, and I appreciate what you're doing. By the way, I do want to say that I said to you before the call. I don't think, I believe it or not, in this era of social media, as you said, there still isn't enough hyper focused on North Jersey football and hyper focused on D2, D3 football, particularly in the Northeast. And I think it's great what you're doing, and keep it up. And if there's anything I can do to help you, I'd love to be there to assist you in any way.
Appreciate it. David, again, absolute true honor and privilege interviewing you and speaking with you again, of course, specifically about Wesleyan University, football. And again, said wishing you and again, the rest of the program continued success.
Thank you, Sunil. Appreciate it. And roll cards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.